His point is that Democratic policy is opening up the border, flooding the country with immigrants who will be fast-tracked to green cards and then citizenship, specifically shipped into swing states where the states can be decided by tens of thousands of votes, shipping in hundreds of thousands of people who will vote Democrat, even though they might be culturally more right-wing where they come from. Their top priority is going to be getting their family to come and live with them, and so they're always going to vote blue. Do you think there's any credence in what he's saying?
No. I think that Elon Musk is a 97 IQ man who masquerades as a 137 IQ man, and all of his followers are 85 IQ, so they all believe that he's as smart as he says he is. He wouldn't be able to pass a Civics 101 test. The man is just astoundingly fucking stupid when it comes to talking about anything outside of his very narrow set of expertise, which just seems to be creating a whole bunch of children with a whole bunch of women.
You can see the difference between how an intelligent man talks and an emotional leftist who immediately starts insulting Elon Musk. Throughout the interview, Destiny never actually answers the question because he can't. This is the current state of one of the most popular leftist debaters.
So nothing that he says, we've been hearing these same arguments for decades. Even what conservatives say, I just caught a guy trying to make this dog shit argument before about bringing in certain types of immigrants that will only vote liberal. Every immigrant votes for liberals because conservatives are fucking insane, and that's their fault. If you can't find a way to appeal to anybody that comes into this country that's not bought in and indoctrinated with your political ideology from birth, that sounds like a fucking you problem. Because I caught a guy doing, I don't want a bunch of brown, Haitian, black, whatever immigrants coming in. It's like, oh, really? You think people coming from fucking Norway and Sweden are voting for Donald Trump? Do you think people immigrating from Italy or France or Germany or Poland even are voting for Donald Trump? No, this is not happening. Nobody from around the world comes to the United States like, man, Donald Trump, this guy seems like he's making some real good points. I'm going to vote conservative. It doesn't really happen. So every immigrant group, and you can go and look at the poll at the Pew polling for this. Like every immigrant group votes left. That's a conservative problem. And by the way, there's not even a real reason why that has to be the case, because if conservatives would just not be fucking racist, they actually have a lot in common with immigrant groups, especially when it comes to social values. If you look at stuff like trans stuff, do you think it's a bunch of brown immigrants from South America that are championing? No, it's white kids, right? It's almost exclusively these like young white college kids that are non-binary and blue hair and all this shit. So this is like, again, this is conservatives creating their own problem and then getting super ass mad about it. But again, the idea that there's like this significant demographic change for people coming to this country, like, what are we going to do? Shut down all immigration? Like, is it even worse now than it was in the past? We've got an issue with asylum seeking right now. We tried to fix it, but Republicans shut that bill down. So apparently they don't give a fuck about it too much because they wanted to keep the issue open for Donald Trump to run on. So I guess they don't actually care. I have no sympathy. And Elon Musk is an idiot, so I wouldn't trust anything he says whatsoever about immigration or the border.
You said the idea demographic shift. You said I sort of don't buy into it. Do you mean the idea that it's happening or the idea that it's bad?
The idea that it's happening in like some unprecedented rate, the idea that it's even necessarily a bad thing, and the idea that it can't be like politically accounted for. There is no reason why brown people or black people or people of color coming from other countries have to vote Democrat and can't vote Republican, right? Like Republicans are the ones that say over and over again, Trump is doing better with black voters than anyone else. Okay, well, keep doing that then. Appeal to them. Why can you not appeal to people that aren't white, rural voter? You should be able to do this.
I'd quibble with what you said about like European immigrants, because I mean, Europe has been having something of a perceivable shift to the right. It's quite hard to track because the elections keep surprising us. But I don't know, maybe like nationalists are more likely to stay at home because they're nationalists. Like
potentially, sure. But I mean, it still plays into my point. People aren't immigrating. White immigrants don't come from Europe to vote for conservatives in the United States.
Where there are immigrants immigrating into a country, of course, there could be so many reasons why they're voting left. Maybe it's just because they're all really reasonable people and left-wing parties are eminently more reasonable, and that's why immigrants are voting left on the whole. Do you not think it could possibly have something to do with them wanting to support their family coming over the border? Something to do with, immigration welfare, this kind of stuff that
the United States sucks for welfare. We're a dog shit country when it comes to welfare. Like people immigrate illegally to the United States usually because they're looking to work and they're looking for employment opportunities. I think we need an immigration overhaul, but nobody wants to sit down and actually do it to make it easier to come in and out of the country, at the very least for like work visas, so people don't feel the need to illegally immigrate to the country. But people aren't like the idea. This is just it's the most fucking American thing in the world. I think that people are coming here to get our excellent fucking welfare benefits. It's absolutely not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you obviously don't agree with Elon Musk, let's put it that way, but there's no cause for concern, like even a slither, the idea that there might be a sort of self-reinforcing policy in politics. That is, self-reinforcing in the sense that if we vote for these people, they bring in these people who vote for the same people, who bring in more of those people, ultimately culminating in this self-fulfilling sort of democratic.
I mean, I guess theoretically that can happen, but like that can happen in so many different ways, right? Like who's to say that when here would be an example, like liberals broadly speaking support things like abortion. Aren't you aborting like most of your voter base? Like, isn't it generally minorities or people, they always talk about the Black Holocaust as abortion. Aren't Black voters generally Democrat? So if we think that people are specifically choosing policies just to increase their voter base, why do Democrats support abortion, right? That's an example of a policy that Republicans want to fight against as hard as possible that hurts them electorally. So I don't think that people are necessarily making, the argument that we should allow in more immigrants because we know they're going to vote for us. And that can be a workaround or a thing that you do for immigration overhaul. Again, maybe you make it so that people can come in for work visas, but they can't vote because they're just, on temporary visas. Or maybe the path to citizenship is, 10 years out or something, or a little bit harder than just residency. I don't know. There are ways to counter that, but it can't be, it can't be that the country's immigration policy should be centered around the well-being of the country. It can't be centered around your party being too fucking racist to appeal to a huge demographic of voters coming from other parts of the world. Fuck you, leave. Go somewhere else. If your idea of good immigration is we can't have too many people coming in that don't match our racist, ideology, then fuck you. We're actively making ourselves worse. And we already have restrictions on immigration. Like, I think it's 7% per country is like the cap or something like that. It's not like we'll take like 50 million legal Mexican immigrants in one time.
Do you think immigration is too high?
I don't even know what that means. And nobody that is even debating it knows what that means.
Listening to Destiny in this debate is actually embarrassing. Instead of addressing Elon Musk's clear point about border policy, turning America into a one-party state like California, he immediately melts down with personal attacks. Classic leftist debater tactic when you can't win on substance. Destiny completely dismisses the very real concern that Democrats are flooding swing states with immigrants who will reliably vote blue to secure permanent power. Rather than engaging with the demographic shift arguments, he blames conservatives for being racist and claims every immigrant group votes left because Republicans are insane. This is the state of top leftist debate. Pure emotion, zero answers, and nonstop insults. Elon Musk warned about this self-reinforcing cycle. Open borders, more Democrat voters, even more open borders. Destiny offers nothing but smug dismissal. This is why people are waking up to the border crisis and demographic replacement talk.
Like, the problem is that when you get into these types of conversations, you really need to get in the weeds about what you're saying. Like, so for instance, somebody says, immigration too high. Well, for what? It grows the economy because labor is one of the most productive and important inputs to your economy. So in that sense, our GDP grows and our economy grows. Fiscally, it tends to be pretty beneficial because immigrants tend to be young and they work as young people, right? They're not old and consuming a ton of healthcare like older people are. In terms of cost of housing, probably be negative. It's probably driving prices up a bit because wherever they go, there's going to be an increased demand for houses. In terms of opportunity for locals, depending on what the unemployment is, you could have immigrants that are competing with local workers. Tech workers complain about H-1B immigrants. Some poor people in the South will complain about competing with illegals for work. To say that it's necessarily all good or all bad, or even good or bad, it really depends particularly on the issue that you're talking about.
It was discussed in the VP debate recently, and housing came up as one example. But it was also said that more than 50% or around 50% of Americans support mass deportations.
I seriously doubt that.
Which kind of stunned me as a statistic. I don't know if it's true, but that would surprise you if it were true?
I don't think that's true. My guess is if I could dig into that poll or whatever it's citing, it probably says something like, would you be in favor of deporting every illegal with like a violent felony or a felony conviction or whatever? In which case, I would be in favor of that. Yeah, fuck you. If you're going to illegally immigrate in here and then commit a fucking felony, it's time to go. Yeah, of course.
Do you think that there's a reasonable case to be made for the sort of broad idea that immigration is too high that isn't based on just like emotive, racist, right-wing like paranoia?
I don't know if I would say it's based on racist paranoia, but it is based on paranoia. Like we said earlier, it's an aesthetic, right? In terms of, or the presentation of reality is aesthetic. Shane Gillis does a funny bit, where he's talking about Trump and everything about how, my dad in Pennsylvania is oddly concerned with the border and he's very obsessed with illegal immigration, like an illegal immigrant is going to walk up to Pennsylvania and threaten his job. I could tell you right now, there are 5 million illegals crossing the border yesterday, or I could tell you it was 5,000 last year. You would have no idea. You have no way to track that. You have no way to know that. It's hard to know where this even shows up in people's lives. There was a good YouGov poll on like, how do you feel about the outlook of the economy and or how are you doing in the economy? And it was like, as soon as Trump was elected versus Biden, and then when Biden was reelected again, it flips completely, where all of a sudden, like as soon as Trump was elected, like when the economy was starting to do good, it is doing good now, but when it was doing good, I think a couple of years ago, and the stock market started to shoot up, Trump said that the reason why was because people thought that he was going to get elected again. So now the stock market is up. Like it's people are totally untethered from reality.
Yeah, I see a lot of people. Do you have any thoughts about the relevance of demographic change? I mean, I constantly see statistics being thrown around about how like white people are going to become a minority by 2100 or whatever it may be. Again, same question. Do you think that this is just sort of racist paranoia, or do you think there's any legitimate concern in this?
I think that good people can be driven to legitimate concern, but I don't think there is true legitimate concern. Who cares? Like, this is a country that is founded on immigration. Right now, I said this when I was talking to Sam Harris, like I've been told for decades that immigrants that don't share my values are going to overwhelm my country and either do Sharia law or Hispanic law or whatever the fuck is going to come into our country. And right now, the biggest threat to democracy in the United States is largely white conservatives. They share less in line with me politically and in terms of American values than any immigrant that illegally jumped a fence to come over here and work. So no, I don't think it's a true concern. In the United States, we're really good at integrating immigrants from different backgrounds. We do it exceptionally well. We should continue to do that.
Yeah, that's one thing that makes the United States discussion so unique, I think, is that it's a new country and has just a different story. It has a different mythos. It has a different sort of origin and culture of immigration, I think, which makes it a different discussion from, say, the UK, where I'm from.
Destiny literally says white conservatives are a bigger threat than any illegal immigrant. This is pure ideological programming. He's revealing his hatred for half the country. Every civilization in human history has cared about demographic change because it determines culture, values, and political direction. Japan cares. China cares. Israel definitely cares. But Americans who care are racist. We're really good at integrating immigrants. Now, based on what? Assimilation rates are declining, not increasing. We've moved from melting pot to multiculturalism, which explicitly rejects integration.